everybody, my name's Carrie. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is Friday, December 11th, 2020. We are in the home stretch before Christmas, if you're celebrating Christmas. You are in Hanukkah, if you celebrate Hanukkah, and I hope whatever you do decide to celebrate or choose to celebrate, things are going well for you and you are enjoying it. This will be my last episode of 2020 because by the time I get enough to show you again, it'll be the new year. And I know a lot of people say, oh gosh, I can't wait for 2020 to be over so we can, have a better year, but I don't think things are going to get better for a little while. But at least we made it through 2020, hopefully. We had Thanksgiving, which was just here. It was just Jim and me. We were going to get together with Robert and Michael, but their dog got spayed, and because they need to keep her quiet, they didn't want to bring her over because they play really hard with Violet and her, and she couldn't do that. So we celebrated our Thanksgiving a week late, which felt kind of weird because by then I had Christmas decorations up, so it didn't feel like Thanksgiving anymore, but I don't care. If I just get a chance to see them and have them over or just get together with them, that makes my day. Doesn't matter what the situation is. So we will be going away for Christmas again. This year we're going to the coast, same place we were at last year because it worked out so well for us. So that is like the highlight of my year, is being able to spend 4 solid days with Robert and Michael and just relaxing and eating and drinking and playing games. I'm looking for a new game this year. I don't know what. I usually try and get something new because we like to sit around and play games, preferably if we don't have to get up off the couch. But we will sit at a table if we need to, but we tend to like to just kind of hang around and play games. And I'm planning my knitting for that vacation time and trying not to get distracted with other things. I have been doing a lot of creating. I've had a lot of ideas. Not all of them turn out, but the effort was there. And, I started getting all kinds of ideas for things to make for people for the holidays. And I got some of them done. Most everybody has gotten their gifts. There's a couple gifts that still haven't gotten to the people that they're intended for, so I won't show anything about those. And all I really have is pictures because I've already gifted the items. But some fun stuff, I think. Some new things I'm trying, and, we'll see what happens. So I do have my Christmas quilt on the wall. I've talked about this in the past. I put it up every year at Christmas. This was a quilt made several years ago by a group of quilting friends that we used to get together about 4 times a year and go away for the weekend to our little quilt retreat. And we decided to do a friendship row quilt. And I decided that I wanted mine to be in landscape mode because I knew I was going to hang it. It wasn't going to be a quilt that I was going to use. And at the time, you selected your fabrics and you selected how you wanted it, what block size, I think. I can't even really remember the specifics. And each month we would meet and swap quilts. And you just had the fabrics that you wanted to include, and I made a duffel bag for it because that's what I do. And you would swap them around, and every month we had a theme. So, stars and hearts were for February. I think fall was leaves or something. And so, whoever had your bag or your tub or whatever would make however many blocks in that theme with your fabrics. So I didn't make any of that. I did put it together as a quilt and quilted it, but that was all made by my friends. So that's my Christmas quilt that I like to hang up every Christmas. I also, if you notice, finally finished this fall quilt. I did show it on Instagram, but that was the quilt that was on my machine for months. 4 months, maybe 3-4 months. I've never had a quilt sit that long. I was really just uninspired to work on it. It just was not something I enjoyed working on for whatever reason. If it's the fabrics, the design, the fact that it wasn't going to go to anybody, I don't know. I just really didn't have the desire to work on it. And I just really forced myself to finish it because I was having all these ideas of things I wanted to make for Christmas. And if it entailed doing any quilting, I needed to make sure that my machine was free. And so the only way to do that was to finish this quilt. I didn't end up needing my machine for any of the Christmas gifts, but it was good incentive. So I'll go over a little bit about what I did, and just in case any of you are interested. So let me get the quilt. This quilt is probably like a twin size, a generous lap size to twin size quilt. So there's still maybe some chalk marks because I did do some chalking to give myself registration lines. I don't mark a design, but I'll mark reference points, like I need to go to this mark or whatever. And for this quilt, I pulled out my templates. I don't know if you can see, this has got like a kind of like a starburst, but that helps you find the center of your block and gives you diagonal and middle lines to go by. So I used that, and then in the border I used my 2-inch template. And the way I use those is I have what's called a quilt pounce, and it's a padded thing. This is filled with chalk, a chalk dust for quilts, and you just put the template on and you swipe it. It's called a pounce, but you don't actually pounce it. You swipe it, and then that fuzzy part that hits the hits the template holes leaves a mark of chalk, and then that just gets washed off. I will take a microfiber cloth that I have just for my quilt, so it doesn't ever have any dirt or cleansers or anything on it. It's just for that. Sometimes I'll dampen it, but not always. And I'll just like rub that off, and it gets most of the chalk off. And then I'll wash the quilt. I can't wash this quilt until I get the binding on, and that was put on the back burner because I was working on Christmas stuff. So that'll get done. I'll machine sew the binding to the front. I'll give it to my friend to do the hand sewing on the back because I don't like doing that, and that hurts my hands. So this is what I did. So on these piece blocks, on the piece blocks, I just did what's considered a continuous curve, and I just curved in all the triangles and the spaces. It was busy enough with the fabrics you weren't going to see whatever it was I was doing, and so that helped just kind of hold that down. I also had to find a path, a way to get from one end to the other without stopping or breaking the thread, because that's the most efficient way to do it. And so because these were on point, I could go across, connect here, go across to the next block and do it. These blocks are 14 inches, and so on point, so on the diagonal of 14 inches is pretty wide, pretty big, and I only have about 20 inches of throat space in my machine from, how far it'll go forward and how far it'll go back. And I don't like to quilt too far away from me because then you don't have as much control. So what I did on the blank blocks, because those are just as big, or what I did on the piece blocks, let me open it up a little bit so I have a block here, is as I went across, I would go across here and I would just do this top part. I would advance the quilt up, and then I'd go back across and I would do the bottom part and go across. And that's how I ended up getting the whole block done. Well, a problem with the size of blocks on point like that is because I only have so much space, on the blank blocks, I couldn't do a design to fill the space in one pass, or I had to somehow make that block smaller. So what I decided to do on the blank ones is I see these like scallops. I did that all the way around the inside of this blank block to make that block smaller. And then I could fit the design. I could do what I wanted to do. I just used that Starburst stencil and marked it, so it gave me the lines that I needed, and then I just did a feather design. I don't know if you can see, I need to stand up, I think. In there. It's fine. It's fine. It'll be it'll be fine. I could have been more precise, but honestly I really didn't care. So it's done. Then I was kind of stumped with how to do the border, because the border is a print that you have a light side and a dark side. And so I decided to do the shape that I had done in here, out here, marked 2-inch lines, and just found a curve that I had that filled that space, and I wanted it to overlap. And so that just goes all the way around the border, and I think it looks fine. So I have kind of this dark purple. It's a coordinating fabric that's for the binding. It's just a solid, it's just kind of like, actually I think it has a little flecks of color, but it goes with this. That'll be the binding for it. And then it'll get put aside because I don't know what to do with it. Someday somebody might get it as a gift. I had this backing fabric already, so I didn't have to go out and go shopping. I didn't have to spend any more money on it, and it's done, and it's off my long arm, and that makes me happy. All right, enough about the quilt. I have a quilt that I want to make that I have a kit for that I could make, just because my intention for it is to give it as a wedding gift when one of my friends' daughters, whichever one gets married first, gets married, and it'll be a wedding gift. Neither of them are engaged, so I have time, but that's really the only other quilt that I have kind of a desire to make right now. I'm still working on hand quilting my landscape quilt that I've shown in the past. I haven't worked on it because I've been really concentrating on my Christmas making and stuff like that. I did finish my Alaska sweater, which I don't think was done last time. I think I just had the body done, but I hadn't done the sleeves. So it is done. It's blocked. I've even worn it once. I was going to wear it today, but I'm just too warm. So here's my Alaska sweater. And there it is. Ta-da! I decided not to do the trees on the sleeves because I just didn't want to. I really just didn't want to. So I did, when I was getting close to doing the sleeves, I did a row of the dark color, 2 rows of the pink color, and then when I was doing the cuff, I did a row of knitting, just straight knitting on this, and then I did my ribbing, and it gave it kind of a little scallopy look to it, and I really like that. They're about 3/4 length sleeves. I will probably wear this. I did wear it one day and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to end up just roasting all day, and I was okay. I think the fact that the gauge was fairly tight on this, and I did get gauge and it came out to the size it was supposed to, but the gauge was fairly tight. This is DK and it used 5, I think. It's a denser sweater. It's pretty heavy, and that makes it really warm. So someday when it gets cold enough, I'll probably wear it. And there's sometimes when I'm chilled. I'm usually warmer earlier in the day, and it's pretty early still today, so too warm for it. But I did decide to wear my key cowl. So this is a key by Hillary Callis Smith, and this was some hand dyed that I did. So Alaska sweater done. And then I was like, what do I knit next? And I have these projects that are like whips that have been sitting there for a couple of years, and I decided to rip some stuff out. So I thought, you know what? It's been a couple of years. I don't enjoy working on this. It may be turning out okay, but I'm just not enjoying it. I'm going to rip it out and use the yarn. So I'm kind of doing that. Being selective so I don't do something go, oh shoot, I should have kept it. So far I've been really happy with my rip outs, my frogging. something that I was starting to, in my frenzy of like, what am I going to make for Christmas? I got this idea of wanting to make something on my knitting machine. And I've talked about my knitting machine before. I have a flatbed knitting machine. Irina had sent me a vintage pattern book for how to make socks. I photocopied the page because I don't want to, the book is very delicate. So I photocopied that. And I'm like, I've been wanting pretty much since I got my machine to get what's called a ribber. And it's like another flatbed that attaches to your first one. And it gives you 2 beds that knit. I'll put a picture in here of how I've got this set up. So I found one on eBay that fits my machine. And these machines are no longer made. My machine, I think, was early 80s, maybe late 70s when it was put out. And so you have to buy a used machine. You have to find something that's got all the parts, and this was in excellent condition, and I got it. And I needed Jim to help me make adjustments to it. I got it all figured out how to attach it, but there's a certain distance that you need the 2 beds to be so that they knit properly, and tweak. And so he was in the middle of a project. I didn't want to disrupt what he was doing until he was finished. Then you can help me with this ribber. So we sat down one day and he got it figured out. So I'm really excited, and I need to spend some more time because my idea for what I wanted to knit on it, there's a little bit of a learning curve, and I need to dial things in a little bit better and get more confident on how it's going to work and gauge and all that kind of stuff before I start doing things as gifts. But prior to getting the ribber, I had an idea of so the ribber can be set up, and what it does is it does the ribbing. When you knit on a knitting machine, it only knits stockinette. You can't do a knit and purl unless you manually manipulate those stitches, which is a real pain in the rear end. So the ribber can do it. So you set it up that this is going to knit, 2, and this is going to knit 2, and you get a 2x2 rib kind of a thing. Or depending on how you set the dials and push the buttons and do all the whatevers, it can knit in a tube. But prior to knitting in a tube, I did do something that I knit flat, and I was going to give it as a gift. And then I was like, I don't know, am I the only one that thinks this is cool? So I didn't. I kept it. But I knitted like a headband. I did knit this flat, and I mattress stitched it. So I figured out my gauge and how long I would want it and how wide I would want it. And I did that turban style. And this is not a self-striping yarn. It is 3 Irish Girls. And the way that it was dyed, it gave it this really cool look. And so it is like for like an ear warmer kind of thing, because I will wear that. And I thought, well, that should go up here, but you know what I mean. Will somebody else wear that? I mean, just because I think it's cool and I would wear it, does that mean somebody else would wear it? So I talked myself out of giving it away. So I will keep it. And then I thought, gosh, it would be so much easier if I could knit it in the round, and it would save me from having to do this whole mattress stitch situation. And then I thought, what if I knitted it wider? Would it make a cowl? And so I did a really nice wide cowl. It's just stockinette. Again, it's, where is the seam? Put it on the edge. I mattress stitched it. You can kind of see there. And then I Kitchenered it. So I started it on waste yarn, which would be like a provisional cast on. And then I ended it the same way. And then I Kitchenered it, and you're talking a lot of stitches to Kitchener. And it was going pretty well. And then Violet jumped on my lap, and a bunch of stitches fell off my needles, and I was like, okay, now I'm all screwed up. So you can kind of see, you're not supposed to be able to see Kitchener, but you can kind of see it. So I didn't feel like it was good enough to give away as a gift, but this was leftover yarn. Oh, let's do a double cowl. This is leftover yarn from a sweater that I did, and I like it. I was going to give this as a gift, talked myself out of it because I didn't feel like I Kitchenered it well enough. I also had a friend from work whose birthday was coming up, so I made another cowl using not quite as wide. I thought maybe a little bit narrower, and then I put a twist in it so that it already had that kind of twist, and I gave that to her for her birthday, just using some sock yarn. The machine I'm using and the machine that has the rubber is a gauge for sock yarn or lighter. So you have different gauge machines, which is kind of like knitting with different size needles. You can't change the needle size on the machine. It is what it is. You can make some adjustments with tension, which give you a tighter tension, kind of like maybe using a smaller needle up to a certain point. So then Jim and I got the rubber going, and I decided I was going to try and make sock tubes, which I did. I still need some practice at it, but I used this. I have had this yarn forever. I don't even think Red Heart makes it anymore. And they make this like patterned sock yarn. And I used to knit all my socks out of this. It is a more rustic yarn, and but it was cheap. It's like $3 a ball, and you need a couple balls for a pair of socks. But I did it on my knitting machine, and so I've got a couple of tubes. I have a little bit of yarn left over so I can do heels and cuffs. I just knit, and I just kind of kept on knitting. So as you can see here, that pink, that is waist yarn that'll come off. I'll just put my needles in there and do a toe or a cuff, depending on what end it is. I'll have to count how far, and I'll put in an afterthought heel and then do a toe. So some of this will be ripped out. I was just knitting because it was working and just trying to figure it all out. So that was my first couple of tubes. And then I thought, well, you know, I do have written down like what my sock recipe is. You know, do so much of a cuff, knit so many rows, put in your heel, so many rows, put in your toe. So I thought, what if I keep track of that on the knitting machine and mark it somehow? This is where my heel is going to go. Then it'll save me from having to count it later. So I did that. And I pulled out some yarn. This was yarn that I dyed, kind of like experimenting with color. I think I dropped a couple stitches. Hang on a second. So not a real pretty color, although now that it's knitted up, it's okay for socks. You know, it was just something I was trying. But you can see I've already opened up for the heel. So I did mark it. I just put a couple of stitch markers, removable stitch markers, at the amount of rows that I would normally put my heel. I already picked up and did a cuff, and so now I'm ready to do the heel. Caleb and Justin from the Bearded Pearl were talking to me about a new way to do a heel, an afterthought heel that does some short rows on the side, so it gives you a little bit more depth. And that's what I'm going to try on this, but I need to sit at my computer when I'm doing this to make sure I get how it's supposed to be. And then I'll put in the toe. And so I've only made one of these because I need to make sure that this fits, that this gauge fits. It does feel like when I just hold it compared to socks that I've hand knit, it feels a little tighter, so I may need to loosen my gauge a little bit, but I can fit my foot in here. I want to make sure though, you know, when I get the heel in and the toe, you know, to make sure I'm doing the right amount of rows, because gauge is going to be a little bit different than when I hand knit it. But I can crank this out, barring any issues with the machine, in probably 20 minutes, maybe, not even that much, and then just put in the time to hand knit the other parts. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm excited to be able to knit with some of the self-striping yarn that I have. I haven't knit socks in a while. It bothers my hands to knit them. The smaller needles are bothering my hands more lately, and so my fingers will go numb, and it's just everything hurts. So I'm hoping that all I have to do is like these few parts, I can have socks again, and that makes me really excited. So I'm gonna get going on that so that I can figure out if I need to change any of the parts of making them. before I got the ribber going, I thought, you know, my knitting machine has what's called a punch card, and it is just that. It's a punch card, and you can feed it into the machine, and setting certain settings on it, it will read the machine, it will read the punch card to do whatever it is you decide to do. It will do 2 color work, and so I did this. So if you remember last episode, I talked about my flesh colored yarn that I got from dyeing with avocado pits and stuff. And then I over dyed the one color. So I over dyed that. And that's what the purple is. And the lighter color was a sock blank that I had left over from when I had my yarn stuff, my yarn shop. And so I knit a bunch, and I thought I got it long enough. I was thinking it was going to then be mattress stitched into a tube like I did with this, about the same width, and put it into a tube and double wrap it. And I thought I got it long enough by doing the math on the rows and stuff. And when I got it done, it was feeling a little like it was going to be a little bit too short. And I had already started mattress stitching it. And I got it almost done. I think I only had about that far left of finishing the mattress stitch. And I decided, you know what? I'm never going to wear it. This is not long enough to give me space. And so I'm ripping it out. So I'm in the process of ripping it out, but I wanted to save it so you could see how cool that is. And this color work, there's the back side of it. And because of the way the needles and stuff are, it's got plenty of stretch. This was going to be a Christmas gift as well, but here it is. So I will finish ripping this out. I'm going to try it again. I may even not try and double it and just make it the length that this one was, because this is a good length. And being that it's not going to end up being a gift, that will be something I would probably more likely wear than one that's doubled over. So, but you know, all that stuff takes time. And so that was part of my trying to figure stuff out. And I was like, I'm going to make everybody a sock tube. Everybody's getting sock tubes for Christmas. And then that didn't happen because I need to get it dialed in a little bit better. And not everybody wants to do an afterthought heel. And you kind of have to do that. I can't figure out a way. I mean, I might be able to figure out a way to do like a short row heel on the machine. I'm just not sure how to do it when it's knitting in the round. I have to kind of play with it. So I thought I need to work on that. So maybe next year people will either get socks or they're going to get sock tubes. So watch out. You never know. Something that I've also been working on is I had got an advent calendar from my lovely friend Michelle of the Naughty Knitwits. She has given me an advent calendar now for the last 3 or 4 years. And I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And then I decided to do granny squares. So it's the granny square pattern that I use for the Battenberg blanket, which is a free pattern from Sandra Paul, who is Cherry Heart Designs, something like that. I'll put it all down below. And I thought if the Battenberg makes like smaller squares, but really you just keep going around and make a bigger square. So I've been working on making these squares, which end up being about 4.5 inches. And so I've been keeping up with it and been doing them every day. I've been showing it on Instagram in my stories. And like I think this was self-striping. This was my latest one, which looked big enough, but then when I look at it, it's like, is it big enough? And I put it next to the other ones, like it could be a little bigger, so I may go around another round on this. But it's been really fun, and I've been keeping up with that. And my idea is to just keep doing that until I have enough to put together, and it'll be a scrappy granny square blanket. But what I like about them, like look at that one, is that they're more solid. It doesn't have the clumps like granny square. I don't know what the stitch is called because I really don't know crochet. But instead of it being like chunks of stitches, it's more solid, and I like that better. And so when I get a bunch done, I'll decide what I'm going to put them together with. I may just do like an undyed yarn so it'll be like a white border between them all. But I've got time. That's going to be a while before I get to that point. But that's been fun, and I've been able to keep up with it rather than feeling like I'm getting really behind. And I do have some minis left over from last year that I was going to work on, and I had started the zigzag scarf or something, but I just sort of lost interest in it because I would only use the color for like a couple rows, and then you cut it. So I have a ton of ends, and then it was just like I'm getting behind, and I don't know that I'll ever wear it and all that kind of stuff. So I think doing this and just doing a square, it takes me, I'd say, close to an hour because I'm not super fast at crocheting. But this one's a single, which I never use singles, so that's kind of fun. But I think it's going to make a really fun blanket. And so that's just another blanket I have on the go. That's okay. When I got done with my Alaska sweater and I thought, what am I going to make next? Do I make a sweater? I do wear them occasionally. I don't wear them every day, but I do wear them. And I do enjoy working on them for the most part. My Alaska sweater got to be, I was really getting done with it. I think having the color work at the bottom where you have the most stitches it just really went slow, and it just did. One thing I have to say with the color work at the bottom that I didn't think about until it happened is that the floats get caught on your button on your jeans and it pulls it. So that happened. So if I wear that sweater, I have to wear something underneath it, which I don't generally because it's warm enough on its own, but I have to wear something underneath it to protect it from getting caught on the button on my jeans because that's not cool. But it is stretchy enough around there and it does fit me. It's just a thick sweater. But anyway, enough of that. So I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do. A bunch of friends from my VKL are going to make the Montrealer, which is a hoodie type sweater by Max the Knitter, I think. It's not my style, and so I'm not going to make that, but I want to join in and make something along with them. They're going to start, and it's not an official knit along, it's just like a group of friends, like let's all knit this thing together. So I also don't like to just be like joining the bandwagon. I'm usually like after the bandwagon has already gone and parked on the other lot. But I decided I'm going to knit a sweater, and my friend Janine just happened to come out with a new pattern that just is going to be perfect. So this is the Bright Note sweater that she just came out with. It's worsted weight, real slouchy big, which I don't generally do because I feel like it's going to make me look bigger than I am, and I'm big enough. But I thought, you know what? I don't go anywhere. And I would be at home with a big comfy sweatshirt on. Why can't I be home with a big comfy sweater? And it's worsted weight. But I thought, being that it's bigger, that means there's more air in there to maybe keep me cooler. At least that's the way I'm thinking about it. And so I don't knit anything with worsted weight generally, and so I have bare worsted weight yarn from back when I was dyeing. I kept all the bare stuff I had left over, and so I'm going to do it with worsted weight non-superwash, and because I thought I hand wash my sweaters anyway, so it's not like I'm going to felt it because I won't put it in the wash. But I decided I wanted to do, that's looking a little blue in my screen, but it's like an eggplant purple, real dark purple. So that's going to be the body of the sweater. I did a swatch and I got gauge with the recommended needle size. So I think that looks pretty good. For the bottom, which is kind of striped, but like dotted stripes, I ordered from Knit Picks the Chroma worsted, and that's it shifts colors similar to like a hand dyed or like spin cycle, maybe something like that. And it's plied with 2 different colors, and that helps shift the colors. And I thought, well, that could look really cool. And being that purple is a neutral, any color would really go with it. So I ordered some, and so it's on its way. You know, I am not going to get to that part. That's at the bottom for a while, but I'll get it probably before the new year. The unfortunate part, and because I didn't print out the whole pattern, I was just looking on my computer and stuff. For some reason, I thought I only needed 3 skeins of, maybe I do. I don't know. I only ordered 3 skeins, but then I think I need 4 colors. So I may only do 3 of the 3 colored stripes instead of 4, because she's got 4 in her pattern. Or I'll order another skein, but then if I order another skein, then I have to order something else to make the shipping worthwhile or to get free shipping. So this time, because I only ordered the 3 skeins, for this, I decided, well, let me order some new Felici colors, because now I'm going to be able to knit socks on my on my knitting machine. So I'm going to get some like 2 or 3 new Felici colors to work on the knitting, or to work on that. So I may get another color, but I got one that's like a blue to green, one that's like an orange to purple, so it's more like a sunset, and one that's like a pink to a purple. And they'll all look great. They'll all look wonderful with this, because this is dark and this is neutral for me. So I'm excited to start it. I know we're not going to start as the group until the first of the year. I may get a head start because it's my knitting and I can do what I want. So that's coming down the pike, so to speak. I did do a couple of little purchases of new fiber. Wound Up Fiber Arts what did she do? She had a colorway that I loved and it was really hard to get, and then she put it back in the shop and I got it because it was so pretty. I'm not going to take it out of the package, but this is Sugar Plum, and it's just these beautiful pinks and purples. And she also had, this is called Snow Day. So basically it's undyed fiber, but it's got gold stellina in it. And I was thinking if I plied these 2 together, and then you would get a lot of yardage. I don't know how this is going to spin because it's got the gold stellina fibers in it. I've never spun anything like that before, but I think playing it with this is going to look really, really pretty. And so that's that plan. But then, you know, to make shipping worthwhile, you have to order more than that. So I got this color, and this is Wowza. And I have seen this spun up. She's shown this one spun up on her Instagram account. It's real pretty. So that's my purchases. I was also fortunate to get some gifts for Christmas already. I'm not going to show everything, but I will show you the yarn part. Leslie gave me some House of a la Mode DK tweed, and I've never knit with tweed, so I'm actually kind of excited. Beautiful color. It's really soft. I didn't realize that House of a la Mode was like a Portland company or a local company, so that's cool. I think I'm going to do a hat with this. I think I'm going to try a hat that's maybe got some cables or something in it, because I think it would look really neat with this. And then Michelle, when she gives us the Advent, she's balled up and wound up 24 minis, and then at the end you get a skein of yarn. And she gave me my minis ahead of time, and she said, but your final skein isn't here yet. So then it came. I got together with her because I needed to give her my Christmas gift to her, and she said, here's your skein, and I went ahead and opened it. And I'm so glad I did. So this is Barnyard Knits. This is Prickly Pear, which I have been eyeballing for a long time, but just couldn't justify getting it, so she got it for me. And it is her Heavenly Fingering, which is 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. This is so soft, and this has to be something very special. This isn't going to just be socks. this has got to be something like here. And I was even tempted to maybe just make it in this cowl. This is a very wearable cowl for me. This is my second one I've made, and I could make a bunch of them. I like the way it fits, the way it lays. So it may be something like that. I got on Ravelry and I was like searching, like, what do I make? I could put another color with it. I have to look and see what I have that could go with it. But if you have any suggestions, this is 437 yards. And it needs to be something that I can just, it needs to be here somewhere. This is super pretty. So I'm just very fortunate to have very wonderful friends. So then I got a surprise in the mail by my friend Todd Michael Thomas, and he told me he sent something. I was like, okay. And I was tracking it. It was later than it was supposed to be, and I thought, what could it possibly be? I had no idea. And he sent me this cowl. It's his design, and I wanted to make one. He had shown me this design, and I said, okay, when you get that written up, I want the pattern. And instead of sending me the pattern, he sent me the cowl. So I don't know if it has a name, but isn't that cool? And then the inside is these beautiful rainbow colors. And I love it. It was just so thoughtful of him. And it is just going to be so cozy when we get cold enough to wear it. But I was so tickled that he thought of me enough to send that. And thank you, Todd. You know I love it. So that was really cool. That was neat. So I think that's all. Like I said, I am not going to be recording again until January because it's Christmas and I got to finish up some stuff. Remember I told you about my sister-in-law that I was going to maybe make her an apron? Well, I decided not to, and I'm kind of pissed, so she's not getting anything. So we are going to try and get together with this family. It's just weird. They're like, well, we can get together and stand in the driveway. And I'm like, why? Can we just skip it? Whatever. My in-laws are kind of bizarre. But we've got that coming up. I'm going to do bingo with the Fiber Hustle guys on Sunday. I think they may have a couple slots. So if you want to get in on it, send them a message on Instagram or something and see if you can get in on Sunday's bingo. I am doing it at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. And it's a lot of fun. They make it fun. They're super awesome guys. And it would be fun if you joined. So check them out. Message them if you want. It doesn't cost you anything. They have prizes, which I didn't realize when I first played it, and I had so much fun. So that's going to happen. And then I go on vacation, and then it's the new year. So I hope you are all finding a way to make this holiday still feel special, that you're staying healthy and staying in. I'm hopeful that next year will bring more healthy outcomes for things, however that looks. And oh, Violet's, she's dreaming. She's so cute. So anyway, stay safe and healthy, and I hope you find ways to find joy this season, however that looks for you this year. And I will see you guys in 2021. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.